Hey folks, this is Pete. I'm back again. I haven't been guiding in a while. I'm having to redo a video. I had it all done and I lost the footage. Not on accident. Yeah, it was an accident. I selected it to delete it and I forgot I hadn't edited it yet. Yeah, just a typical day in the life of me. So, hey, we're going to be, let me get some stuff laid out here. We're going to be tying tube flies today. And I'll put my vise up here while we're doing this. This is a Griffin tube vise. Bernie Griffin made these for years. And this is what we'll be using. And it'll be on the Griffin medium mandrel. Bernie no longer makes these for Griffin vices, but you can get excuse me, you can get tube vise attachments for your vise. There's a few out there, so if you want to tie tube flies, you can still do it. And what I use for my body on these medium mandrels is a Q-tip. Just take the ends off and cut it in half, and this is my body here, and it goes right into my excuse me, into my tube vise, and that's good and strong there. So, and then we're going to be using Wapsi's UTC flat chartreuse for our heads. I was thinking about black. I'm doing a perchy color, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And we're going to be using bucktail from Hairline. This is Hairline bucktail here. Right here. So I got a black, a green, I think it's called Kelly green, and then regular yellow and fluorescent orange. But on the green, we're going to be using this backside to get that olive color here, and it's got just about the right length of fibers that you need for this. So when I come back, I'm going to go here, and I'll be right back. I'm going to lay out my tails here, and I'm going to get everything set up to tie this fly. And we'll be using Loon's clear finish. It's the UV, and it is flow. And you want the flow because you don't want it to run when you do the head, but you want it to kind of flow a little bit, and you don't want the thick because you don't want blobs and have to sit in there and wait. So, and then we use the light, and then we're going to be using some copper blades that I have, old copper blades, and they're set up on, I put these on a the clevis that you can interchange the blades, and I get those through Hagen. And then we're using a number 1 octopus hook here, black nickel. Good stuff, works good. They can get a little brittle just due to the fact that there is a hard temper to them, and that keeps them sharper longer. So you'll notice that with your sharp hooks, they got more of a temper, and you can't bend that hook as much, but you can break a hook. So with that said, we're going to get on with this. We'll tie the harness, the whole 9 yards for this, and make it from the start of the fly to the end of the fly. So folks, stick with us, and we're going to get ready and start doing it. All right, I'm so glad to be back with y'all. And I forgot, we're going to be using Zap-A-Gap, a little bit of Zap-A-Gap here. So what we'll do is take our thread, like so, and I start back behind the head. This is where I want the body and the fly to be, right here. So I'm going to tie her all the way back and cover all this. And we'll tie forward a little bit and then back a little bit. Give it a little bit, something to grab onto. Because that is plastic, and sometimes it don't grab as well. So, and then we'll tie in our cactus. This is small. cactus chenille. You can use a medium, but I prefer the small to make this body on this fly here. So, and then we're going to come up to right there. I'm going to put just a dab of Zap-A-Gap. Just a dab of Zap-A-Gap on there. And that'll hold this body on the fly permanently. So when lake trout hits it or your predator type fish, they won't tear this off of there. So that's why I designed that way. And then we come in and do 2 or 3 tie-ins, cut her off, good to go. That's your body of this fly here. Not much of a body. There's not much. But here's where everything starts coming together. So I want to take out my short ones on this one here because this one don't have a lot. And they're not as long as fibers. And you want about 1.5 inches. Get your long ones out. And clean up your end. And I do not stack this. I want my ends to be kind of natural that way. But when you tie this in, you want it to just kind of lay flat. So you tie light in the back towards the back of it, and that'll keep your hair from flaring up this way. And then as you go forward, you tighten that up. And some of your bucktail is going to be different than others, softer, stiffer, and stuff. So you got to work with that bucktail a little bit. So our next color is black. And this one, we want the longer fibers out. And some of the shorter fibers, because we're not using a whole lot of hair here. This isn't a bulky fly by no means, you know, for on the bucktail end of it. So kind of even it out, pick it a little bit, and then you come in. You want to get your set where you want it. I'm going to cut my fibers off there, the end, just like before. Now, if you see what I'm doing here, I'm going to get back. See how this is, I point it down like this, and then you just catch those fibers. Catch them. And then bring them in. There, and we're starting to build our head there too. So, and then you get down here, and see how that's laying flat? And you got your green in there, and your black for the perchy color. So and then I'll take my tube vise, and then I rotate it over just halfway. Put some pressure on it again so it's not moving. Make sure we're centered up. Check it out. And the yellow, don't use a whole lot of yellow, so we're going to take all the long fibers out of the yellow. All the long fibers. We don't use a whole lot of yellow. About that much. And we're going to get that set up about right there. So I'm going to cut that off right there. Snip it. And then I hold it in, catch some fibers, and this builds your head. And then tie it in. Get her tight. And those don't come out then. So there you go for that. And then the last color is orange. And you're going to be doing the same thing. You want all the long fibers out here. Then you're going to come in and pull out your shorts. And you'll get it like this. You come in, measure it. Make sure she's sitting there. These are going to be 1.5 inches or so long. So you're cutting off quite a bit from what a normal tube fly would be for what you would think these Lakers are taking. Up here on where I'm fishing, they're wanting smaller profiles. So now we got that in. We're going to flip it over one more time, and this is where we add the crystal flash in. So we do the same measure with the crystal flash. Oops. So I'll measure out my crystal flash, and I'm going to snip that off right there. What I do with the crystal flash to get this is I'll tie it up at the end. You know how they're rolled over like this? I take it up at the very tip of it, and I put a zip tie on there and zip tie it. Then I come through and grab all the strands that I want and tie a knot closest to that zip tie. I don't want to be wasting a whole lot, but that's how I do this, so I can measure out my fibers the way I want. And then we'll do, this is where we come in and build this head. We're trying to get all that orange and black and green under your head. Okay, so there's your crystal flash, and that looks really good. Comes out right to the end. So then we do our, I didn't get it tight. There we go. Then we come in and do a whip finish, and I take two fingers like this, roll it over onto itself, and I do two of these, and I do one more, and cut. And then if I can find it, right here I have some red eyes that I'm going to put on it. So I will take my razor knife here, I loosen it up, and I got to put the eyes on before the next step. So there we go. So next step, this is where the loons comes in, right here. We'll take the loons here and make sure you turn on your UV light. So, and I just do a little drop on the eye, and that'll give it that eye a little 3D effect to it. Set it up. We're going to come back to the next eye and do the same thing. Give it a 3D. And this is where we start the finish of it. We build all that into the fly. And then we hit her with the UV. Yeah, that's looking good. And those eyes are sealed in there and everything. And then we'll pull her off, and then I usually snip it, use a razor knife, that excess on there, I leave just a little bit of excess on the front, take that off, and that's your finished fly there, folks. You can come in and clip the fibers with that are sticking out a little bit with your scissors, just. There you go. So that's ready. So our next step, let's get our stuff out here. Our next step here is we'll build the harness. So I come in here. This is a simple snell here. It's the no knot snell. And then I wrap it back on itself about 7 or 8 times. And I've never had one fail on me yet. So, and then you come through with your tag end through the eye. And then you snug her up. That was my knuckle popping. Snug her up, and I usually leave the hook shank length on there, or a little less, of a little tag. So if she does pull, you have that. So I have to get a couple more things out, and I'll be right back. I got my beads out, folks. Now we're going to do the next step. So with this little shabingadonga here, I add a green, black, and a yellow bead. One green, find a little hole in there, put that on. One black, find the hole. There we go. For some reason I'm getting a glare in here today. So I'll put those on. So if you see that, I got 3 beads there. Now we're coming on with our second hook. We're going to snell that in there. I'm going to pop this off real quick so it's easier to see. Now I'm going to put my next hook on. Alright, so what I'm going to do is bring that hook right there. See where that bead is? Just ahead of that bead, just a hair. And then I'm going to do the same thing, wrap it back on itself 7 to 8 times, maybe 10. So then I grab my tag end, bring it through the hook eye, snug that baby up, and there we go, in line, doing good. Now comes your fly, which is real simple. Just come into that tag there, bring your fly on again, green, 3 beads, green, black, or your choice, and you can change the colors of these flies. It's just the perch one that I'm doing, so not fire tiger, but perch. So, and there it is. So, folks, so far. And then the last thing is the spinner here. And the reason I use these plastic ones here, where you can interchange the blades on them, is because they don't wear through your line. They're smooth on your line, where a metal one will wear through your line and you'll get a wear mark, especially if you're trolling with it. So you're doing a lot of pulling with it. So bring that through. There's the completed fly right there. Looks good, lasts a long time. You catch lots of fish. And I take 4 fingers, wrap it around like so. Come back in. This is how I store them for out on the boat. Right there we have the finished product, folks. Now that is good looking. And I throw it in a little 3x3 bag, because I get these at, you can get these at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, those places. And this is so they just don't get laying around. Save your bags. I always bring my bags back in, and I put it in a bag. Finished product. So you just grab them out, tie them on. So these here, I'm usually putting, I take my flasher or dodger or spinfish, whatever I'm using. I'm usually using 8-inch. No, you probably won't use a 10-inch or anything, but where I'm fishing, I use 8-inch flashers and stuff like that. So my normal rule of thumb is I go a wrap and a half around the flasher. So I'll butt the fly head or the spinner up to the back of the flasher, and I'll take my line, wrap it around a wrap and a half of that flasher, and then I'll tie in my surgeon's knot, and we'll have then you have your right distance behind your flasher dodger that I like to fish. You can go longer, you can go shorter. It all depends on the action you want on that fly. So that's up to you and what the fish want. So folks, thank you for catching back up with me. And we're going to be doing these throughout the whole winter. And I'm going to have to try to get enough built up so I can get through the summer months when I'm guiding heavy, and that you guys will still have videos to watch. And I might be doing some fishing videos out there this year. I have a boat that's set up with the top on it that I can put some GoPros on and get some footage. So with that said, keep coming back. Don't forget to subscribe, and it helps other people see the video when you're subscribing and liking, and hit that ringy dingy bell down there at the bottom. All right, folks. God bless you, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.